The minutes from our meeting on September 21st have been distributed. We'll entertain a motion for approval as submitted.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion. We approve those minutes as submitted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Paula?
Mr. President, I'd like to recommend the claims from September 23rd, 2020 through October 5th, 2020 be approved without exception.
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the claims as submitted. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes.
Mr. President, I'd also like to recommend the payroll dated October 2nd, 2020 be approved without exception.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the payroll claim. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. And we have on the agenda today a proclamation for Bravo for the Arts, dated Wednesday, October 14th, 2020, whereas the arts resonate with us, challenge us, and teach us important lessons about ourselves and each other, whereas the arts speak to our condition and affirm our desire for something more and something better, and whereas great works of literature, theater, dance, fine art, and music reach us through a universal language that unites us regardless of background, gender, race, or creed.
Whereas other cities and states have celebrated the value and importance of culture in the lives of Americans and the health of our community, whereas the arts and culture industry strengthens not only our community, but also our county's economy, contributing approximately $61 million to the local economy each year. And whereas the arts organization and individual art practitioners in our area continue to reach underserved communities and inspire over 500,000 Hoosiers with artistic opportunities and educational experiences. And
Whereas throughout our history and during this current challenging time, the arts have given us comfort, drawn us together, and called on us to strive for a more vibrant world. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the undersigned, the Tippecanoe County Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim Wednesday, October 14th, 2020, as Bravo for the Arts Day in Tippecanoe County, and call upon all members of the community to celebrate the power of the arts and the work of the many arts and cultural providers in our region. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is Ordinance 2020-15-CM, second reading.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion. We hear that ordinance on second reading.
Second.
Okay. Doug?
Yeah, so this is the second reading of an ordinance that would withdraw certain parcels that you had previously assigned the control of the Dayton Redevelopment Commission. You took that action back in December 2019. My understanding is that the project that was going to move forward wasn't going to work under that structure. So in any event, this withdraws those parcels that are outside of Dayton, the ones in the unincorporated county, and you would resume jurisdiction over those parcels.
Okay, any questions for Doug? Anyone from the public like to comment on the ordinance? Anything, Paula? Bob?
Brown,
Yes.
Murtaugh,
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Ordinance 2020-15 CM passes 3-0 on second and final reading.
Next up, we have a professional services agreement with Browning Dave Mullins Deerdorf.
This is for architectural services for Phase 2 of the TCCO project, the household-wide project, and it has a schedule of rates for particular services of what might be needed for any architectural work for that phase, from project director at $185 an hour to intern at $65 an hour. With that, I'll make a motion. We approve that professional services agreement for that project.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve the contract as outlined by Commissioner Murtaugh. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes. Next on our agenda, we had two ordinances that are related to area plan. One, ordinance number 2020-CM, I'm sorry, -16-CM. It was a case brought by Joshua Shives. That has been withdrawn by the petitioner. So if you were here to speak about that, again, that has been withdrawn. So we will move on to our next, which is ordinance 2020-17-CM.
Mr. President, I move that we hear that ordinance on its first and final reading.
Second.
Mr. Teeter, good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Dan Teeter, attorney with Ryan, Teeter, and Schreier, represent the petitioner. Petitioner's representative, Nancy Fosnut, is present. She'd be happy to respond to any comments or questions that you might have. As you are aware, we're requesting a rezone to GB for this 5-acre tract. It's on the west side of Klondike Road, just south of US 52 as well. We received a favorable staff recommendation from the area plan staff and a unanimous yes vote from the area plan commission as well for this rezoning of this property. I rezoned this property about 10 years ago for the portable toilet business in that area. They've since sold that business and no longer are using the site. Midwest Rentals is now located in the Elston area on old US 231, and they would like to sell the Klondike site. In order to do that, we need to remove it from the planned development to be able to have another use, so another zoning classification needs to be done. All the surrounding area is GB. This was previously GB as well. We're just asking to go back to what it was before. You're aware also that Klondike Road is in the process of being finalized and improved. We've got water and sewer there now. We're going to have sidewalks as well. I think it's an excellent location for general business, and we would respectfully request your approval. Happy to respond to any comments or questions that you might have. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Teeter?
I just have one, because we have a little note here. It says a commitment was originally filed, then withdrawn. What was the commitment?
Well, yeah, we had a lot of confusion. APC helped with it. Initially, we all thought that the property went all the way back to Blackthorn, and we determined that that was never the case. We had a commitment on there to say that that wooded area would remain wooded, but we don't own it. It's owned by the neighboring party, which took forever to find out. Even the GIS map showed it going all the way back. So we've gone through all that. We've corrected the map, and there was no reason then to have the commitment. We withdrew that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone from the public like to comment on this ordinance? Okay. Bob?
Murtaugh,
Yes.
Byers,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Ordinance 2020-17-CM passes 3-0.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, Stu.
Just a few items here. First item on our list is a maintenance bond with Duncan Robertson in the amount of $727,490.20. This is for the Bridge 33 project, which is substantially complete now. Guardrail should go on this week, and we'll be opening the bridge.
Mr. President, I move that we approve this maintenance bond as stated.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the maintenance bond with Duncan Robertson as outlined. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion passes.
Second item on our list is a construction maintenance bond for Ike Sewer Service. This is for work in right-of-way on Old State Road 25 at 3015. It's in the amount of $5,000.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion we approve the construction maintenance bond as outlined.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the construction maintenance bond with Ike's Sewer Service. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion passes.
Okay, and then we have several documents involved in the acceptance of, Twin Lakes Service Circle in Three Meadows subdivision off Lindbergh. We have a maintenance bond for Milestone for the roads in the amount of $24,150. A maintenance bond for the underground work from Atlas Excavating in the amount of $19,269.40, and then the acceptance of the street itself.
I was going to say, can we do that in one motion? Yeah, okay. Mr. President, I'll make a motion we approve the maintenance bond with Milestone Contractors, the maintenance bond with Atlas Excavating, and accept the streets of Twin Lakes Circle in Three Meadows subdivision.
Second.
You have a motion and a second to accept both maintenance bonds and the Twin Lakes Circle and Three Meadows subdivision. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes.
Thank you. Our last item is a continuation certificate in the amount of $5,000 for Frontier North to work in utility, work in the county right-of-way.
Mr. President, move that we approve the continuation certificate as stated.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the continuation certificate from Frontier North Inc. for $5,000. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you.
Opposed? And motion passes.
Thank you.
Good morning, Sharon.
Good morning. I'd like to ask permission for the Surveyor's Office to, on behalf of the WOW program and Detrashing the Wabash, they're asking for a $15,000 grant from the SAA Foundation for storage of their rafts and other equipments that they use for those programs.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion we grant permission to apply as stated.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to apply for the grant as stated. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
And accepting the grants, Community Correction received a $250,000 grant from BJIA for the implementation of the PREA standards, protecting inmates and safeguarding our community. The match to the county will be from the salaries who are currently staffed to supervise these grants.
I ask this every year, but what is PREA?
Prison.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. President, I move that we accept this grant as stated.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the PREA grant. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
That is the first time we got that one, though, right? That is the first time grant. Also, Community Correction received the $60,000 from Indiana Supreme Court and Justice Partners Addictions Response for the 2020 SIM grant awarded, and there's no match on that one to the county.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion we grant permission to accept from the Indiana Supreme Court and Justice Partners Addictions Response for the grant as stated.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to grant permission to accept the grant as outlined. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes.
And the Health Department has received an award letter for the $316,234 from the Indiana Department of Health to cover identified COVID-related IT needs within the Health Department, and there is no match for this funding from the county.
Mr. President, I move that we grant permission to accept as stated.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to grant permission to accept the grant as outlined. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And motion passes.
And Emergency Management has received the Indiana Homeland Security Foundation grant for $3,750 to purchase SCBA bottles for different life-saving incidents. There's no match from the county, and this should be able to fund 5 more tanks for them to use,
And what's SCBA bottles?
air bottles.
Self-contained breathing apparatus, face
Oh.
mask and tank.
Oh, like scuba diving tanks.
Well, they're for,
For going into
Hazmat.
fires and hazmat
Okay.
situations, so
Okay.
not underwater.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion we grant permission to accept as stated.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to approve the $3,750 from IDHS as outlined. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
And TEMA, along with LEPC, has received a $12,000 from Indiana Department of Homeland Security for the HEMP grant to cover the cost of delegation to attend hazmat training conferences, either online or in person, when they're available in 2021.
Mr. President, I move that we grant permission to accept as stated.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to accept the grant as stated. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes.
Last one we received was for Superior Court 3. They received the $9,000 grant from the $9,000 grant from the 2020 Court Improvement Program for federal fundings received by the Indiana Supreme Court to move forward with the paperless project collaboration effort, reviewing the Quest data, and as well as advertisements of rights video to be produced to be viewed by the victims in those cases, the JC and JT cases.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion we grant permission to accept as stated.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to accept the grant as stated in the amount of $9,000 for Superior Court 3. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? The motion passes.
Last request I have is for your ratification of the MOU for the School Resource Officers Agreement with Tippecanoe School Corporation to cover the COPS grant until 2024.
Mr. President, I move that we approve this MOU contract.
And we didn't do this like just a couple weeks ago?
It's added a year.
You added a signature to it, so it has to be ratified at this meeting.
Okay. Okay. Second.
We have a motion and a second to ratify the MOU contract between the TSC and the Sheriff's Office for the MOU, or the SRO program. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Looks like we have several change orders.
Through our contingency fund, and because we've had great luck with our bids coming in lower, we've been able to add some projects to the fairgrounds project. The first one is with Shepherd Construction. This is to put a brand-new roof on the existing swine barn, or current West Pavilion, if you want to classify it. That roof has been leaking, and so this will allow us to get that entire new roof on there, and then it will be matching the rest of the buildings. So as a change order of an increase of $91,500, I so move that change order.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the change order from Shepler Construction in the amount of $91,500. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes.
Next one is with Mohops. This was to add some more door frame around one of the doors. It just mattered to beef it up, so that was an increase of $2,173. I move that we accept that change order.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the Mohops change order for $2,173. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes.
Next one is with Davidson Excavating. This is to get our our downspouts actually attached to drainage pipes. For some reason, that was missed, and so this will be an increase of $21,509 for Davidson Excavating. I move that we accept that change order.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the change order with Davidson Excavating in the amount of $21,509. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And that motion passes.
And then that last one is with Tippecanoe. This is to add a 1.5-inch gas valve to the west side of Area D, and it will isolate the east and west rooftop units, so it allows us to separate them if need be. So I will move that we approve that change order of $143.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve a change order from Tippecanoe in the amount of $143 for the Fairgrounds project. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Do we have any unfinished or new business to be brought to the board?
I have none.
The only one I would say, if it's new business, to welcome Kelly Barker, who's now working in our office, if you haven't met her. Nice to know our new Linda. So, welcome, Kelly.
Okay, reports on file from the Building Commission and from Parks and Rec. Any public comment?
Move to adjourn.
We're adjourned.